Do you want to know how your brain is preloaded already with negativity and positivity, and then how to navigate the world knowing that that is true? Well, stick around and watch this video if you're interested. Hello, my name is Jesse. Welcome to the channel Open Source Owners, where we talk about what if humans had an owner's manual. Well, negativity bias, positivity bias in the brain would definitely be in that owner's manual because it really determines the quality of our experiences. So neuroscience teaches us some things about the brain. For instance, your brain has many cognitive biases. We'll take a look at that in 1 second. Your brain is also negatively skewed when isolated, and this is so-called the negativity bias, which we'll talk about a little bit more as well. And your brain also is positively skewed when you're social, amongst other things. But being social allows us to sort of color memories and color events that happen to us in a more positive direction. If we jump over to the Cognitivity Bias Codex, which you can check out, just Google it, it'll pop up. But look at how many biases they've identified that the brain does. If we take a look at the 4 quadrants here, what we should remember, the things that are really important, when we need to act fast, our brain has to just quickly suss out the situation, and it doesn't really matter if it's accurately reporting the information or not. In fact, it's really impossible for the brain to accurately track base reality because base reality has an unbelievably nested system of electromagnetic frequencies and information flowing through every single channel of those frequencies. The brain just simply can't handle that. In fact, that's what basically having schizophrenia is the brain is open, at least in my understanding, the brain is open to all these channels of information, thereby confusing so-called reality from so-called hallucinations or non-reality. The brain also has biases around not having enough meaning and then having too much information. All of this is to say that the brain is not perceiving true base reality, but instead is perceiving reality in the way that it believes is the most advantageous to keeping us alive and having us like produce children and all the evolutionary sort of things, right? Okay, one aspect of your brain that sort of is involved in cognitive biases is called the Retricular Activating System, or the RAS. And this part of your brain actually edits out information that is not important, which helps us to be, more efficient and just be able to do things in life. It would be very hard to do things if we had to see all information as equally important. We have to have a weighing system and a filtering system. And this part of the brain, the RAS, looks to sort of see what is important to you. So examples, you buy a new car and then you see that car everywhere, right? This is so common. People have this example. It doesn't have to be with a car. It could be with anything. But say you buy a new yellow car and then all of a sudden you start picking out all these new yellow cars that are the same brand or model as your car. It's not that the world just all of a sudden had more of those cars. It's that car, that particular yellow brand of car, now has particular meaning to you because you bought a brand new one of those. And so you see that car everywhere that you go. Another example of this is you believe people are good, and then you tend to see the good in people. You look for those silver linings, and the opposite would also be true. Or everybody's done this. If you drive home sort of on autopilot and you made it home. You did the left where you needed to. You didn't like run over anybody. You didn't get into a fender bender. You made it. Yay. But that's because of this part of the brain, which is just sort of like edits out all the unnecessary information and allows you to just take a simple path, drive home, even though that drive was different, like people were braking and starting and stopping all at different times than you have ever experienced before. In a detailed way, that drive was brand new and unique, but your brain, being so familiar with the patterns and having sort of a set of biases about how to get you from point A to point B, allows you just to do it very simply. You don't even think about it, and that is thanks to the RAS. All right, so when we talk about cognitive biases, the brain is biased to confirm what your beliefs are. Your beliefs are also biases about the true nature of reality that you learned at a much younger age. It's not like your beliefs are really about true reality. It's that your beliefs are informed by the culture you grew up in, the era that you grew up in, your parents, your primary caregivers, especially your early childhood experiences. And that's what forms your beliefs. So examples, you believe the party is going to suck. So you think, oh, I don't want to go to this party. It's going to suck. And your brain looks for confirmation of sucky things at the party. So you get there and the hors d'oeuvres are bad and the music's bad and the company's bad. So you feed back into your brain what you already expected would be the outcome of going to that party. You believe that the pill is going to help you, and your brain looks for confirmation of it helping you. This is well known, called the placebo effect. Somewhere around 50 to 60% effective. This is actually the power of human perception on physical material reality, including our physical body. You believe that the treatment is going to hurt you. your brain looks for confirmation of it hurting you. This is called the nocebo effect. If you look into the studies on the nocebo effect, you'll find people will get sugar pills, but they'll be expecting the pill to do something bad, and then they'll have things like diarrhea or upset stomachs, or they'll have flu-like symptoms, etc. This is the power of the mind. Again, it just is in the opposite direction of the placebo effect. This should definitely change mass and broad spectrum media and how we understand information coming into our brain and how that affects our attitudes and quality of life and relationships, etc. So the negativity bias is really important. This is something that I think helps people make sense of their own internal maybe depression or struggles with being positive in the world. Because really, we have a part of our brain that's really dedicated and sort of committed to negativity. And that's not to be a bummer, that's to keep us alive, as we shall see. So the brain is geared to remember and focus on negative things, like I just sort of mentioned. Now, we have 800 to 1,400 thoughts per minute. Most of those 800 to 1,400 thoughts are actually going to be subconscious, below our conscious thinking. They're just sort of like reflexive thought patterns that go through our brain. And most of those probably will be negative, as we shall see. So if you add that up throughout the day, we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day. It's just an incredible amount of thinking. And most of these, of course, tend to be negative. So evolution favors the cautious, right? So anxiety and worry are signs of a brilliant brain. I often tell my clients, if you have anxiety, then congratulations, you have what we would call a brilliant brain. You have a problem-solving mind in a tribal setting. If there was a problem or a concern, you would be amongst the people in your group that would really be thinking about this and thinking about every possible way that there could be a failure or a death or a negative outcome. And that anxiety and worry would actually be socially positive benefit for your particular tribe. And it wouldn't cause you, in a tribal situation, it probably wouldn't cause you clinical anxiety. It would serve you to solve the problem that needed to be solved, and then you would move on with your crew. So you must remember near-death experiences, but not necessarily good times for survival purposes. Does it really matter? If you had to pick one or the other to save energy, would it matter more where your favorite peach tree was, or where the quicksand was, or the viper den was? Obviously, it's more important to remember the negative events and learn from them to keep you evolutionary fit and surviving, and etc. And in the modern world, that's still true. We still want to learn from our negative experiences. And all the little good, like a great movie that you watched on Netflix, you don't have to remember that. That's not critical to keep into the forefront of your mind. But, why you got a divorce is so that the next time you don't have to get a divorce, or why you lost your temper and you did or said something that harmed yourself or others. That actually really matters, because if we can learn from that, then we can avoid that in the future. Your brain remembers and focuses on negative statements over positive statements. This is very common in the social media world, where you might put out like a video like this, say, and you might get 100 comments that are like, hey, this is great, thanks so much. And you might get one comment where somebody's being a stinker. And you will probably, as a content creator, or even just you put out a thing on Facebook and you didn't get that many likes, you'll think about that. That'll have a negative sort of downward spiral in your brain for most people until we get past that place. I think really popular YouTubers are probably pretty used to the occasional negative comments and don't really worry about them too much. But at first, we're all, social creatures, and we want to be viewed socially positively. And if we get negative comments, we'll really mull that over, and that'll really color how we believe that say it's a video, it'll color how we believe that the video performed. We'll actually in our brain say, oh, that video performed horribly because I got 3 negative comments. Somebody else objectively would say, yeah, but you got 300 positive comments. And then, your brain will go, yeah, but those 3 negative comments, they were really onto something there. Okay, so positivity bias. The brain has rose-colored glasses when in small groups of people. Humans are supremely social. We are meant to be nested within small tribal groups, as we shall talk about. But one of the things that happens in small groups, especially if there's touch involved, but even just heart-to-heart communication and connecting with others, releases oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is a well-known pain reliever and social connection bond chemical, but it also colors our memories from the past. So things that we went through in small groups of people will have a rose-colored hue to them. We will perceive them as being much more positive, much more beneficial than maybe we were if we did the same exact thing in isolation. Your brain positively colors memories if you engage in movement practices regularly. Myokines are the chemical that is associated with hope. Kelly McGonigal calls it the hope molecule, and that's released when we stretch and tense our muscles. It's released out of the musculature. And so that the best way to do that is through movement practices or exercise practices or stretching, etc. And those myokines will in turn help us to have more hope and see things in a more positive light. Another way to think about myokines is oxytocin helps our memories in the past be more rose-colored, while myokines help our memories and our connections in the future be more rose-colored. So you could argue that myokines actually positively tint your cognitive biases going forward. So oxytocin may also be released, which helps with pain relief. So oxytocin may also be released during movement practices, and oxytocin is a well-known pain reliever. It helps relieve social pain. It helps relieve physical pain. But it also has that powerful effect on coloring positive memories. So when you have memories that were connected to social bonding or connection, they'll seem more positive than they would otherwise. So evolution favors tribal human connection. That's how we developed in terms of our evolutionary niche. And that is, we will never be able to get rid of that aspect of humans. Humans are meant to live in small groups of people. This has been understood by Dunbar, who I think was a sociologist. I'm not sure. You could check that out. But Dunbar's number, so-called, is roughly about 150 people, maybe more like 75 to 300 people is what humans are naturally meant to be born into a community of 75 to 300 people who know you, know your mom, know your dad, know your uncles, etc. You're surrounded by people who love you and support you, because that is the number of faces and stories that we can sort of hold and remember well. When you get much past 150 or 300, then all of a sudden you get into strangers or like acquaintances. Like, I kind of know that person's face, but I don't know their whole story. I don't know the trauma they've suffered. I don't know the loves that they've had. And we become that's where we start to develop the quality of humans that is maybe the most dangerous quality of all, which is the ability of humans to other groups of people or individuals. And so that happens, I think, because we can no longer connect individual stories, or nor do we have like deep, intimate family connections with people beyond the number 300. And if you imagine living in a city of 3,000 or 3 million, well, you can only know a very small handful of those people well. All the rest of them are strangers. So if it comes to getting yours or the strangers getting theirs, well, that's where othering comes in. We will say, well, forget that other person. I'm going to get mine from me and my tribe, and they can sort of fend for themselves. And that's where warfare becomes something that's endemic to being a human. Okay, that was a lot about negativity and positivity and really cognitive biases, but it's really important to know these things so that we can begin to not just individually do them, but to actually build a society based on, like I was mentioning with advertisement and marketing, knowing about the nocebo and the placebo effect. That should change how we allow broadcast media to enter into a mass number of human consciousnesses and psyches now that we know that information. Now, we're probably far away from changing the fundamental baseline of our media landscape, but we can begin to do it ourselves and begin to teach these things ourselves and share this sort of information. Now, if you'd like to know more, please feel free to download the free 60-page ebook that I wrote. It's called The Owner's Manual Part 2. It's free. It's just got a bunch of information in it. Check it out. Comment below if you found that to be useful or interesting, or what you pulled out of that ebook when you do get it. And please, it's my gift to you for watching this video all the way to the end. So thank you so much. That was how your brain is preloaded with both negativity and positivity, and how that ultimately leads into like our persistent moods, things like depression, or somebody who's maybe like half glass empty, half glass full. We begin to see how that sort of preloaded into the brain, and then we stack up experiences that sort of lead one to the other. But the key, as with everything with the brain and everything in neuroscience, is we can change our brain if we choose to. So if we notice we're seeing things more negatively, then we can begin to take some of the aspects of that we talked about in this video and turn that into a chosen focus. So we're going to actually choose to focus on, positivity, and we're going to maybe engage more socially. We're going to maybe engage in more movement practices. We're going to maybe engage in more positive affirmations, which we didn't talk about, but that's another way to change the landscape, the inner landscape of your brain and of your mind. So thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. If you liked it, if you made it this far, please go ahead and subscribe to learn when more videos like this drop. And also hit the like button if you like this video. Don't hit the like button if you didn't like it. But if you liked it, if you made it this far, I'm thinking you liked it. So go ahead and hit that like button. We will see you in the next video. Thank you guys so much. Take care of yourselves out there. Spread this information if you found it to be useful. Comment in the links below. I always check those and I try to respond as much as I can. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.